where you kind of grow up, because when you're a kid, you're asking questions, you're expressing yourself, and there's all this like creative outlet. But now when you grow up and you find yourself like packaging and thinking about my audience and appropriateness and like and yes, in like you should have some kind of responsibility or ethics when you do have a platform. But do you think we also get to a point where we package too much, or we overthink what we share on platforms?
It's true. I do think that sometimes we package. Well, I think a lot of times we package, and the inner me always asks myself, why did I package? So whenever I have an opportunity to speak, I always aim to honor the audience. So I believe I have always had leadership qualities. Some of the times I was in trouble when I was a kid is because I led a revolt, right? So I've always known that immediately. Yes, we didn't want a certain teacher who they gave us. I don't know why we thought we could decide on that matter, but I was like, leading the chants and the what in grade 5. Now I can't remember if my parents even knew about that. Anyway, so even now I package. It's two ways for me, Chipo. I package to ensure that the message gets across, and because it's part of my job, communicating is such a large part of my job.
That's a big part of your job.
I have to be able to sell a vision, demonstrate that this vision is noble enough, it's worthy of your time and your effort, and that at the end there's rewards for everyone. So that's a large part of my job. So I'm very conscious and cautious of how I do that, still honoring my audience. But there are other times when the packaging is because of maybe feedback I've received in the past, where some people have said, you're too loud. And there were moments when that threw me off. Like, honestly, I was born with a husky voice. What you're hearing now is even polished. But I could take it an octave. My natural octave is like really low. Like this would be me when I'm talking. You know what I mean? So I have to work with audibility and what. And some of that has been tempered by trying to be appropriate for some people. I think earlier on, it was really to fit a mode. It was very hard because I didn't know what that mode was. Most of the time, it didn't feel like my brand of boldness, courage, adding my voice to a matter, even if you take my opinion, but I would not want to leave a room without my voice at it. And I had to get to a place where through mentorship and coaching and therapy, I had to ask the honest question to say, was I too loud, or were you not ready for me? Did you not prepare for me, an encounter with me? Did I throw you off of your game? Because I'm an intentional person. I'm very reflective. I'm not always right. I'm not always correct, but I'm intentional. So how I showed up is I chose to show up that way. And if it was too much, was it just that you were not ready?
You're not used.
Yes, you're not used. You're not used to a girl like me who is ready to speak, a girl like me who will say, I know or I don't know, but I want to find out. A girl like me will be like, no, you crossed the line there. And there are places where it's been easier to do and places where it's still a work in progress.
I actually have a question about that, but I'm going to ask it later. But for the sake of like just like, you know, trying to flow, so I'm going to take you back to growing up. So, you know, because I'm your friend, I know a little more about you than usual. So I'm going to ask you some questions that kind of go there and some that are a lot more surface. So, you know,
sip some coffee.
Sip some coffee. So, you know, I know you lost your parents when you were young. And as someone who lost their father when they were quite young as well, I can almost empathize. But, you know, I always had my mom. And I know you lost both. So when, you know, they always say hindsight is a great teacher, right? And you said you're very reflective. So now when you look back, how do you think, or how do you perceive that losing your parents quite young shaped your journey and shaped who you are today?
I never deserved to lose my parents that young. I lost my defense. I saw later on where people who do not deserve to be in the same room as me say, I will not amount to something. And there were times when that sank. And there's a part of my life where I was just trying to work those words out, and how I showed up was, you would tell me I'm great and I wouldn't hear it because someone said I would amount to nothing. Some words were very hurtful. I'm glad words don't get to sit on your forehead, because I wouldn't be able to walk with some of the things that I've heard being said to me. So losing my parents was the worst experience that could happen. I have conversations with God and I tell him, you are not doing that to my children. Do whatever it wants. Take my limbs. Leave me with the voice to be able to advocate for my kids. Because my parents were not rich, but what I lost was not the money or the resources. It was defense.
Protection.
Protection.
Yeah.
The last time I heard someone say, so between 1997 and 2020, no one said they believe in me. Or no one demonstrated that they believed in me. So you can imagine what I did to try and feel like, oh, I'm something, I mean something, and people believe in me. But what that did, I look at it in two ways. It made me brave. I didn't have a choice. I had to be brave. I had to be bold. I had to be strong. I remember one time I was crying to you and I said, Chipo, I'm tired of always being strong. I've been too strong for so many things, through so many seasons. When will this being strong end? Now coming to today, I know I can be strong. So I'm not doubting the seasons I will go through if I will manage. I will go in and come out. If it's a fire, I know I'll come out without smelling like I've been through a fire. So there's no smoke on me. That's me, right? But then there's also the girl who doesn't know how to ask for help. There's things you found out after the fact. You didn't know I was going through them because I packaged. I then came to tell you about it as a testimony because I don't know how to have people there for me.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that's supposed to look like. I'm learning from my relationship with you, from therapy and how I'm relating with my husband, being able to ask for even simple things like, I don't want to cook today, you know? But I didn't know that people could be there for you. I didn't know how to raise the flag and say, friend, I'm not feeling okay. I didn't know how to defend my space because I just never had that opportunity. So it's been a journey. I'm proud of who I am, man. The story, my past, and who I am today, two different things. I'm like the girl from Chifubu.
I always call you that. Every time you have a big win, I'm like, hey, girl from Chifubu.
That's who I am. Somebody will have to look up Chifubu, but all the best.
So from what I've heard from your explanation, I think it's true that you're reflective, because your takeaways from your experience of losing your parents young have been both the things that the good things that came out, which is your ability to be brave, to go for it, you know, that survival instinct, that like believing in yourself, as much as like you only heard in 2020 that someone believed in you. You had to have believed in yourself to get to where you were, because I met you in 2019.
2019, yeah.
So by that time, I think you'd have had to like have some kind of like traction of believing in yourself. So, and then also the downside, and I think sometimes we focus too much on one area. You either just focus on the positive and not know the downside, or sometimes just focus on the downside and not know the positive, because these experiences can have both like negative and positive like consequences or repercussions or whatever. But I love that you're so reflective and you're able to tell that, like, you know what, it led me to like being an island and not asking for help. And I think asking for help is one of those very underrated things. A lot of people think that asking for help is easy, but it can be the hardest thing to rely on the people around you, to rely on the people that love you, to even just trust them. Especially when you've been betrayed or violated by the people that you were supposed to trust, you know? So thanks for being honest and for answering that. I know that's never an easy thing.